In the silent hum of servers, a story was being written. Not in words, but in code. A story of ambition, betrayal, and the day the digital world held its breath. It all started with a whisper, a rumor of a vulnerability so profound it could bring a titan to its knees. That titan was Omnicorp, a global conglomerate whose name was synonymous with innovation and power. Their stock was soaring, their future a gleaming skyline of endless possibility. But deep within their fortress of firewalls and encryption, a single line of code lay dormant, a digital time bomb waiting for its moment. The world woke up one Tuesday to chaos. News channels buzzed with breaking alerts. Omnicorp's network, once thought impenetrable, was breached. The stock market reacted instantly. The ticker symbol, once a proud beacon of green, turned a blood red, plummeting in a free fall that analysts could only describe as catastrophic. Panic selling ensued. Fortunes built over decades vanished in minutes. On screens everywhere, headlines screamed of the Omnicorp collapse, a digital Pearl Harbor. How could this happen? Who was responsible? The questions echoed from Wall Street to Main Street, but the answers were buried in petabytes of corrupted data. Inside the glass-walled headquarters of Omnicorp, the atmosphere was thick with disbelief and fear. CEO Marcus Thorne, a man whose confidence was as legendary as his company's success, now looked like a ghost haunting his own empire. His face, usually a mask of calm authority, was etched with lines of stress as he stared at the cascading red numbers on his monitor. Every tick downward was another nail in his company's coffin. He assembled his emergency response team, the best minds in cybersecurity, but they were chasing shadows. The attack was surgical, elegant, and utterly devastating. It wasn't just a breach. It was a public execution. Miles away, in a dimly lit room, illuminated only by the glow of multiple screens, the architect of this chaos watched the fallout with a quiet satisfaction. This wasn't just a hacker. This was a ghost from Omnicorp's past. A former prodigy, a developer who had been cast aside, his warnings about system vulnerabilities dismissed as paranoia. He called himself Zero. For years, he had watched Omnicorp build its empire on the very foundations he had warned were flawed. Now, he was collecting his debt. His fingers danced across the keyboard, not with frantic energy, but with the precise, deliberate movements of a concert pianist. He wasn't destroying. In his mind, he was balancing the scales. The media frenzy was relentless. Pundits and experts debated the how and why. Was it a rival corporation? A state-sponsored attack? Conspiracy theories spread like wildfire across social media, each more fantastic than the last. But the truth was simpler and far more personal. Zero had found the master key, the one he himself had designed and warned them about years ago. He had called it Janus, a backdoor with two faces. One face offered ultimate control and access for system maintenance. The other, if ever discovered, offered ultimate destruction. Omnicorp had forgotten about Janus, but Zero never did. As the financial world reeled, the human cost began to emerge. Employees, thousands of them, faced an uncertain future. Their life savings, tied up in company stock, were now worthless. The ripple effect was massive, touching suppliers, partners, and entire communities that depended on Omnicorp's presence. The digital attack had drawn real blood. The news showed images of distraught workers leaving the Omnicorp campus, carrying boxes of their personal belongings, their careers and lives appended by a string of code they couldn't even comprehend. Back in the war room, Thorne and his team finally found a trace. A digital breadcrumb, a signature so faint it was almost missed. It led them down a rabbit hole of encrypted servers and rerouted IP addresses, a maze designed by a master. But the signature was familiar to one of the older engineers on the team. Janus, he whispered, the name spoken like a curse. The realization dawned on Thorne's face, a look of pure horror. He remembered the young, brilliant developer he had fired. The one who had been too arrogant, too insistent. The one he had underestimated. Thorne knew he had to face the public. He had to stop the bleeding. He called a press conference, stepping up to the podium in front of a sea of cameras and reporters. He tried to project strength, to reassure the world that Omnicorp was resilient, that they would recover. He spoke of unprecedented criminal activity and enemies of progress, but his words rang hollow. His voice, usually so commanding, wavered just enough for the world to see the cracks in his armor. He was no longer a titan of industry. He was a king presiding over a fallen kingdom. As Thorne spoke, Zero watched on a live feed. A bitter smile played on his lips. He typed one final command. It wasn't an attack. It was a release. He leaked the internal memos, the emails where he had warned Thorne and the board about the Janus key. He showed the world that this wasn't just an attack. It was a consequence, a result of hubris and greed. The narrative shifted instantly. Omnicorp wasn't just a victim. They were complicit in their own demise. The public's fear turned to anger. The calls for Thorne's resignation were deafening. The dust began to settle, not on a rebuilt city, but on a smoking crater. Omnicorp was dismantled, sold for parts. Its name became a cautionary tale whispered in boardrooms around the world. Thorne disappeared from the public eye, his legacy forever tarnished. And Zero? He vanished back into the digital ether. He had not sought money or fame. He had sought a different kind of justice, a vindication that only he could truly understand. He had proven that in a world built on ones and zeros, a single voice, a single line of code could be more powerful than any corporation. In the aftermath, the tech industry changed. Companies scrambled to audit their systems to find their own hidden Janus keys. Security was no longer an afterthought. It was the primary directive. The story of Omnicorp became required reading in business and ethics classes. A stark reminder that the ghosts of past decisions can always return often informs you least expect. And somewhere, in the vast, interconnected web of the Internet, on a secure, untraceable server, a single line of code remains. A simple, elegant string of characters. It's a backup, a failsafe, a final testament to the one who brought an empire to its knees. Beside it, a single cursor blinks, steady and patient. A silent promise that nothing is ever truly deleted. A reminder that in the digital world, every secret has a key and every fortress has a flaw, just waiting for the right person to come along. The story isn't over. It's just waiting for the next command.